I left the job after 10 weeks. I already seen it going left. We think we're the only one going through something.
We do, girl. We do. We think it's just us. It's white supremacy culture that we learned to be more individual when we really need to be in communities. Yeah. And you reached out to people and you were like, hey,
help me.
Help me. And that is very vulnerable.
Breakthrough is always on the other side of like being cringy.
Because people showed up for me. But I had to show up for myself first and be vulnerable.
You're watching We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. And I'm your host, Crystle Johnson. We are a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. Each Thursday, we feature the stories of Black women who have set themselves free from the expectations of others and are choosing to live on their own terms.
Welcome to another episode of the We Ain't Dying for This podcast, a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. I am your host, Crystle Johnson, and I'm excited to have a conversation today with my good sis, Jasmine Fluker, about vulnerability as liberation. Vulnerability is a really tough topic, but I hope that we can start off just with something a little light before we jump into the depth of the conversation. So, before we get started, tell us who you are, Jasmine.
Who am I? You know what? I'm getting comfortable with this definition. I think I've been trying to place myself in a box for a long time. And I think the term that I'm coming with now is I feel like I'm a multi-hyphenate person.
Oh, okay.
I'm good at a lot of different things. And I feel like the places where I shine is like I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. A lot of our identity as Black women is wrapped up in work.
Yeah.
I'm a founder and like all of those things. But I think like just me as a person, I feel like I'm uncomfortable with like saying that I'm a creative. I haven't gotten there yet. But I feel like I'm really good at a lot of things.
Yeah, I think as Black women, we are good at a lot of things. And sometimes it's hard for us to choose a lane. And we don't have to choose a lane. Sometimes you need to choose a lane because you're overexerting yourself. But if you don't feel overexerted, girl, multi-hyphenate it up.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say not overexerted because the name of the podcast are just talking about like living a soft life. I feel like honestly, I'm not gonna do too much. I just told you I was like, I left the job after 10 weeks. I already seen it going left.
Yeah.
And I feel like my life is just a string of soft experiences. I remember when at a time when I worked at a nonprofit and we switched to unlimited PTO, they were like, we're scared because like historically Black women just don't take enough PTO.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, don't worry. I'm going to get it.
I'm going to take this time off.
I'm going to get it for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That actually is a big issue at companies that do unlimited time off because people then feel like they can't take the time off. Yeah. And then as a Black woman, it's even worse because you really like, can I take the time off? So then you don't take the time off at all. But I'm glad you did.
Yeah. I'm
glad you did for sure. But let's jump into, actually, before we get there, I want to start off a little light first.
Yes, please.
Let's start off a little light. So we're going to do a little this or that.
Okay.
So the first question is Uno or spades?
Ooh. So Uno, I do love spades.
Okay.
But I have 4 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
We just played Uno like yesterday.
Okay.
I have 4 brothers, and when you play spades, like by the time my parents, my brothers, myself, is way too many people. But as many people can play Uno. But we've been playing Uno No Mercy on these last few go rounds.
Oh, what's Uno No Mercy? Is that when you can like put the plus twos and the draws on top of each other?
They have totally different rules. You can steal somebody's hand. You rotate the hands on one side. The Uno No Mercy has been very entertaining during the holidays, but so because my family is large, Uno.
Okay. I love that so much. I like Uno too, but it gets real serious sometimes. Yeah. Real angry.
Yeah.
Because we real competitive.
It's loud. I love it though.
Yeah, it's really fun. So we've been hearing a lot about trail rides recently.
Okay.
So trail ride or just regular old electric slide?
Ooh. I love trail ride, like the line dances.
Mm-hmm.
I have to show you the videos after.
Okay.
But we just had a party on the 24th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were at home in Alabama.
I
so
was
that's
in
some
Alabama.
real country stuff.
Yeah.
I love it because I'm from Virginia. I'm from I think it's the South. A lot of people say it's not the South, but it is. And same.
Listen, I mean, Virginia is like New South. Mm-hmm. it's New South. In my mind, like when I think about like, and I've lived in all of these states. When I think about the Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, that is a different South. But I still acknowledge the other Souths.
Okay. Okay, cool. Gospel brunch or R&B brunch?
I'm going to say R&B. At the point, I'm already missing church.
Okay.
I'm going to just...
Mm-hmm. But it get a little R&B. It get a little gospel at some point, you know? Like, it might start off as R&B, but we Black, so...
I'm like, yeah, in Houston, I feel like they mixing everything in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, I'm already missing church, R&B.
I'm already in trouble.
Yes.
Pray for me. That's hilarious. So, now that we kind of, like, shook off some of the heaviness, let's just jump into the conversation about vulnerability. So I think vulnerability is very hard for any person, but I think particularly it's really hard for Black women. And when I think about being vulnerable, I often think about people learning the truth, me having to share something that I don't necessarily want to share, like feeling weak at some point in time. So you talked about the job that you had for 10 weeks. So I'm going to use an example of a time where I had to be really vulnerable and I was terrified to be vulnerable. So I've been working in the DEI space since 2013, but I would say my first full-time DEI job was in 2016. Mm-hmm. Well, by 2019, I had worked at a few companies and I was just, you know, popping around. I'm from Virginia, so I moved to Michigan. I lived in Colorado, and at this time I was in California. And I was working for a music entertainment company. And I was so excited to be there. The manager was amazing. It was a Black woman. And unfortunately, when I started, they were purchased or bought out, acquired by another company. And I knew that this acquisition was coming, but the chief people officer, my manager, they were like, oh, it's fine. Like, they're very committed to this work. Don't worry about it, girl. You good. So I'm in Oakland, California, most expensive place I've ever lived. And 5 months into this situation, this job, I get laid off. And I was married at the time. My wife didn't work. So I was like, what is a girl to do? First of all, my family is all the way on the East Coast in Virginia. It's not like I feel like I can just drive home because that doesn't seem like a good option. And then I see like the state of people like around me. So the first thing that I think of in my head is I'm gonna be homeless. Mm-hmm. I was terrified. But I remember that I had built like a strong community on LinkedIn, and it took me a couple days to come to the realization that I could lean on that community, that it was okay for me to say, hey, y'all, I'm in a bind. I was laid off and this is what I'm looking for. Send me leads. And what I learned in that moment of vulnerability is that people came through for me out of the woodworks, like people that I had been communicating with on LinkedIn, people that I didn't know. And I had multiple offers within 30 days because people showed up for me. But I had to show up for myself first and be vulnerable. So that's what I think about. But it took me a long time to get to that point where I'm like, okay, I can lean on this community. I can tell them the truth of what is happening with me right now. Do you have any situations where you were vulnerable and it transformed who it is that you are, like your situation?
Oh, I have a few.
Okay.
I feel like, and I just have to name like layoffs, because I moved here with no job. Mm-hmm. I moved to Houston with no job. I had transitioned out of my role.
Wait, was this before or after the 10 weeks?
This before that.
Okay.
So I moved here with no job.
Okay.
So I had been in Buffalo for and this was not what I wrote down that I was going to talk about.
And it's fine, girl.
Yeah, I'm like, this a whole, like, what you share has really, like, made me think about it. So I have been in Buffalo almost 6 years. I moved there to be working for an education nonprofit. My way into DEI was through educational equity.
Okay.
And then I got my master's in DEI, I think in 2019. And so I moved there to work for a nonprofit. I had worked all the way up to executive director, and then they let me know that my region was closing.
Oh.
Kind of like at the height of my career, I've done a lot of fighting to get into this executive role. And, like on the back end, it's just not simple. I think I made the decision. We had a really, really tough winter in 2022. And seasonal depression, like, is real. And when you live in places where it's very gray all of the time, I think I made the decision that I was going to move here, and I had like 6 weeks to get everything situated. And so I moved to Houston with no job. And I similarly use LinkedIn. That's what made me think about it. I didn't use it to like source work, but I was like, hey, if you know a client, send them my way. Yeah. I can support in these ways, or these are ways I can add capacity to people's work. And that has been transformative. Like, betting on yourself and just like not having any safety net. Yeah. It's always scary. I'm like, that's always scary. Very but I don't think I'm like risk averse, like as a person. I moved to Buffalo, never been there before. Yeah. With just the things in my car. Wow. So I don't think I'm risk averse. I've always just kind of followed where the work has taken me. And so moving to Houston was the first time that I just chose a place. Yeah. And then I said I'll figure the rest out later.
Yeah, and you reached out to people and you were like, hey,
help me.
Help me. And that is very vulnerable and something that a lot of people are not able to do. They will suffer in silence until they cannot suffer in silence anymore, until they don't have another choice. And then at that point, you are at the end of your rope. You don't have much time left. And sometimes people aren't able to scramble to support you in the ways that you need to be supported in that moment. So it's so important to, as soon as it happens, let go of what you think people might say, because a lot of times we judge ourselves more harshly than other people are judging us.
Yeah, I mean, the breakthrough is always on the other side of like being cringy. Yeah. Like, I think being on social media, like, has taught me that it's like everybody's going to be like, oh, this is very cringy. Like, the people around you that you know, like your close people, they'll be like, what is she doing? Yeah. And then when it works, now everybody is looking. But, like, for me, we see it a lot now with a lot of people getting laid off. We see it, but we see it in the place, like you said, they haven't exercised vulnerability or community. Yeah. Or the communal strength that is there. And so it's like, hey, I'm about to be evicted, or hey, I'm about to lose my house. Yeah. And we need to like practice being in community before we get to that place.
Exactly. 100%. So what do you think are the lies we tell ourselves about vulnerability? We talked about it in the beginning where we assume that it's hard. Like, we've been told that it's hard. So what are some of the lies we tell ourselves about being vulnerable?
I think the first one is like, vulnerability makes me look weak. We're like, oh, this is gonna make me look very weak. I think as a leader, because I was like, I think when I started getting into like senior roles, I was like 26. Everybody I was managing was like 40. I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I know I'm going to mess up. Yeah. And so I was like practicing humanizing myself. Like in my leadership, I was like, okay, y'all, I made a mistake this time, or like, this is where I've landed. And so I was like practicing that with my team. I'm like, I know I'm going to mess up. And everybody older than me, they got more experience. Oh, yes. They're ready to burn me at the stake. And so I think the first one is like, it's going to make me look weak. And so like, that's the first thing you got to like undo for yourself. It's like, vulnerability makes me look weak. I think the other ones are like, people will judge me. There's like a two-sided thought about vulnerability. There's like your own internal dialogue that you're fighting, and then you're like, people are judging me because I've put myself out here in this way. Mm-hmm. And there's like a hypervigilance that's going on now because we're all like habitually online. So you're like your own
worst critic.
Yeah, you're your own worst critic, but you're like in your own limelight. So I'm like my own star of my own episodic in my brain, like my own episodic TV show. Like I'm the main character. We may be going to a season finale, and like it feels like that because we are recording. We have so many memories of the things we're doing, but nobody really is like thinking about what you're doing. They're only thinking about what you're sharing.
Yes.
And I don't think vulnerability has to come from a place of weakness either.
Correct.
That's like another lie that we're telling ourselves. Has to be like downtrodden. Because when you think about a layoff, it's like the rug is pulled from under you. Or like situations like that where you're like already, like I'm already kind of like with my self-confidence, like, oh, I'm getting rejections. Maybe it's me. I'm like, maybe it's me. Maybe I can't find something. And so, like, I'm fighting with my own self, and then I'm thinking that other people are judging me, when in actuality, people are there ready to help me and support me.
Yes.
And then, like, myself, like, you know, you got to build up your own internal self-talk around, like, vulnerability.
Yeah, for sure. I was saying this the other day. So I went on this 16-day transatlantic cruise, like, within the last month. And one of the things that I wanted to do on that cruise was be more vulnerable with myself and not feel like I needed to be perfect or only pursue the things that I knew I was going to get perfect or right on the first try. So I did everything, girl. I did trivia. Didn't know if I was going to know the answers. I did puzzles. I learned that I actually like puzzles and my brain thinks in shapes and colors. What else did I do? I did a sushi making class. Ooh. I did a painting class. Things that I don't know how to do. And old me, like recovering perfectionist me, is like, oh, I need to get this perfect and right on the first try. And what I learned is exactly what you said, that ain't nobody judging me. I'm judging me. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the judging. So once I was able to be vulnerable with myself, I could actually get to that point where it became clear that it's me. I'm the problem.
I love it. I love this. Are you an eldest daughter?
No, I'm the baby and also the middle child. So I am adopted.
Okay.
And in my biological family, because I know my mother, I'm the middle child.
Okay.
And in my adopted family, I'm the baby.
Okay.
But I'm also like the first for everything. So maybe that's what you're getting right now, is that I'm the first.
It feels like it. I mean, I'm the only girl.
Okay.
And so I feel that pressure a lot of times to like be perfect. And I think you shared this a little bit about the moving to different cities. When you move to a new city, that's probably the most vulnerable thing you can do. You don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it a few times, and each time is different. Like, when I moved to New Orleans, I was going into the classroom, but I knew a cohort of people that were starting at the same time as me. Yeah. So I had community there. When I moved to Buffalo, I only knew my coworkers, really.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody. I had no family there.
Yeah.
Similarly, moving here, I have some friends that have since moved from New Orleans to Houston, and my cousins, but I don't really, like, it's a fresh new experience. So you going to bingo night by yourself, you're going to trivia by yourself. Like, moving to a new place will really, like, put you in the grips of, I got to do it on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so off topic, but I really do want to go somewhere and play bingo.
There is a really great
bingo
place here.
Bingo is so fun.
There's a really great place here that does an R&B bingo night.
R&B bingo? Okay, yes. We got R&B brunches.
Yes,
R&B
there's
bingo.
a really great place here. My friend has put me on to.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And you're right. Like, there are so many things that we do where we have to show up vulnerably. So I'm glad that you called those things out. So anyone who's listening, they will realize that there are actually things that you have done and been vulnerable that may not match up to what you historically believe vulnerability looks like. So if someone came to you today, a black woman, of course a black woman, this podcast is for black women.
Yes.
Black woman came to you and she said, I am really struggling with being vulnerable. What tips would you give her to be more vulnerable?
The first thing I would ask is like, what are you giving up by not being vulnerable? I did an exercise recently, and it was like, it's through some of this eldest daughter programming. It's like, what do you feel like you have given up? And I was like, as a first generation college graduate, I feel like I gave up creativity. Like, I probably would have chose African American studies, like, if I had my choice, but they gave you the sheet and you pick what's gonna make money.
Exactly.
And, you know, and so many of us have that shared experience. It's like, all right, pick what you're going. You the first one to make it. You got to pick something that's going to be profitable. And so I feel like I've given up creativity in that. And I would say, what are you giving up by not being vulnerable? Because are you giving up? Do you feel like you are gaining looking good? Because a lot of times we tell ourselves, like I said, vulnerability is not weakness. A lot of times we tell ourselves, like, I have this perception or I have this persona, and I'm giving up looking good by being vulnerable. And like, even in the times where like I was in a layoff, when I reached out to people, it wasn't from a place of weakness.
Yeah.
It was more so, I want to be in connection with you, and like, and this is what I am going through. Because like, the other part that we don't really conceptualize a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, is we think we're the only one going through something.
We do, girl. We do. We think it's just us.
We think it's just us. Like, oh, me, I got laid off. Oh, that's the unemployment rate is at an all-time high. Like, it's not just me. And so we think we are we are having a solo experience,
right, when
we're actually having a lot of unique lived experiences that are connected to other people. And so I would say, what are you giving up by not being vulnerable?
Yeah, because you could be giving up community. You could be giving up best practices.
Community, connection. You could be giving up partnership. I don't know. That's not what this podcast is about. But you could be giving up partnership by not being vulnerable.
You could be. I love that. I thought you were about to do an alliteration when you said community, connection.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I was like, what's our third one? I don't know.
I don't know. You know, we love a good alliteration.
Creativity. You definitely are giving up creativity because you're not tapped into your gifts by not being vulnerable. But I do actually believe that. And I think as high achieving women, Black women are really getting to the bag. And I think a lot of times, like, by not being vulnerable, we're also like giving up connection with family and giving up partnership in that way. And so we're having a very individualistic life and not in community with everybody.
But you know what we learned that from?
I know.
We learned that from white supremacy culture. I just want to speak into the mic. It's white supremacy culture that we learned to be more individual when we really need to be in community. That is how we thrive in community, which is why I love the work that I do through We Ain't Dying for This with the retreats and sisterhood. It's so important. It's such important work because when Black women get together, it's a time.
I know.
It's a time.
I haven't had like one time where I'm like, I'm in a group of Black women and I have not had a good time. Yeah. I just don't think that exists in my mind.
Yeah, because we see each other and you don't have to explain who it is that you are, why you feel the ways you feel, why you move the way you move. We see each other. I see you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
So I really love this conversation, and one of the things that I'm going to take away from it is that vulnerability can look different. Like, it doesn't have to look the traditional way that we believe vulnerability looks. I think we've been vulnerable and we don't even realize it. And then obviously the lies that we tell ourselves about being vulnerable, that we are weak if we are vulnerable, and truly we aren't, because when we are vulnerable, we are not giving up community, connection,
and creativity. I do love that.
Yes.
I do love the triple C.
Yes. So what about homework? So if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, girl, I want to try to be more vulnerable. And I have an idea for homework, but you might have your own idea too. So what would you say, what would you give someone to do to kind of tap into their vulnerability?
Oh, I feel like exposure therapy for vulnerability could look like talking to yourself. I feel like that's the hardest one, and it's just you and the camera, and it could be on LinkedIn, it could be on Instagram, it could be on TikTok. I think just like opening yourself, and you'll feel so connected to people.
You will.
It could be about anything. I think that just really pushes you to like see. Other people will see you, other people will see you, but you will also see yourself and like build your confidence in that way.
Yeah, totally. And you will find out, as you've already said, that you're not the only one.
Yeah, people are going to, connection.
Yes.
People are going to connect.
Yes, absolutely. That part. I love that. And what I would also offer if someone wants to do some homework is actually thinking about the times that you've been vulnerable, writing about it in your journal or speaking it in your journal. The iPhone has a good journal
the app is great.
Yeah, like I love speaking into it rather than typing or writing. But you can talk to yourself about a time where you were vulnerable and think about how that made you feel. And the hope is that through doing that, you want to chase that feeling, that empowered feeling that you felt when you were vulnerable before.
I love that. Mm-hmm. It's a great exercise.
Yeah. We rooting for y'all. Oh, with a camera.
Absolutely.
We rooting for y'all to be more vulnerable. Absolutely. And definitely I would take that advice from Jasmine in terms of homework. Do the homework I shared as well to really get yourself in a place where you feel more comfortable being vulnerable. So Jasmine.
Yes.
Where can people find you online if they want to talk to you, if they want to work with you, if they want to get to know you more?
See, this is the vulnerable piece. I am going to be launching my website on my birthday, which is January 17th. JasmineFluker.com. You can find all of the things about me there. And then all of my social handles are curated by J_.
Okay, I love that. Curated by J.
Very simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you in your creativity bag?
I am.
Okay.
But I love like putting things together. Like I love curating things, pieces. My friends are trying to push me into signing my house up for like apartment therapy or something like that.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Or like there's another Home and Texture. That's a black one, a black like design studio. They're like, you should
now
do
you
like
gotta show.
article.
Now you gotta show me the pictures of your
I will
apartment.
definitely.
Your house. I mean,
I would
now
definitely
I need to
show
know.
you. Yes, but yeah, I love like curating things.
Okay, I love that so much. Well, I have had a blast talking to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my God, it was great.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. Catch up on previous episodes on the Living Corporate Network and on YouTube. You're also invited to join our exclusive community for access to early episode releases, exclusive content, live events, and more.